Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. I'm Spencer Israel, joined by Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. On the show today, Netflix is ripping. First Solar is ripping too on the news of that solar tariffs. I was surprised to see that. I thought that move was already priced in. So we'll talk about the move in the solar stocks, we'll move in Netflix and the earnings stocks, the move in the small cap biotechs that we discussed a little bit on the show yesterday. And of course, we'll take your questions in our chats on YouTube and premarket.benzinga.com. We've got two guests for you today. First up, 8:15 is Steve Miller. He's a trader and his site is AskSlim.com. And then at 8:35, we are joined by Nick Chahine, author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Joel, tell us how we're doing this morning in the S&Ps, even though your computer is updating and has been for the last hour and you're on your whatever Surface, whatever that is.
Yeah, so
also, you're on mute. I should tell you that. There we go.
Good morning. Probably have.
You gotta love those Microsoft updates,
oh
Joel?
My gosh, I can't believe it.
I'm telling you, man. That nothing, and I think we can say it because, it's been said before, but nothing pisses me off more than that Microsoft update. It tries to update my computer all the time, and I fight it off. It's taking you an hour to update your computer, Joel. What is Microsoft doing over there?
I don't know why I did it. I'm like, he's been asking me. I'm like, remind me later, remind me tomorrow, remind me next year. And I'd be like, I got in before stocks and jocks. And I hit it, and then it just hung at zero here. I'm going on. This is the second round, and I'm
is it doing something?
Yeah,
or it's just hanging.
It said it's 13%. Don't turn off your PC. This will take a while. Then it says your PC will restart several times. So I don't even know if I'm going to be good for tomorrow's show. But hey, I can hop in the video here and wave to you guys because there's
hey, there's Joel. Hi, Joel. Yeah. I see you there.
But we have a major sell-off going on in the S&Ps, Dennis. We are down 2 points here, 33.25. We were on our merry way last night. We got to 28.42, and then the tsunami, the earthquake in Alaska, head for the hills, and that took us down to 28.75 on the rebound here, up 2.25. So really no downside till we take out that pre-market low, 28.75. We are 9 handles away from that high, that all-time high at 28.42. So that could be a target on the upside. All-time closing high, 35.25. Crude in the green by 24 cents here, 63.81. Spending a lot of time. Spencer, can you bring up a daily chart of the crude oil? Because, man, this has just been some amazing consolidation here.
What's the symbol on train station for crude?
At CL?
At CL? Okay. That's what I thought, but yeah. All right. I'll find it.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Maybe you don't get it on that one.
Yeah,
but
I got futures here. We're good.
You can even bring up the USO. But, we've got up in the 64 handle a couple times, and it's got a couple closes there. Have pulled back, dipped into the 62 handle only once, I think, over the last 7 sessions. So here you are. You have a big run up. You have some consolidation here. Next move coming. Let's see. We have closed in the 63 handle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. So looking for a big move. High close in the move, 64.25. But crude's got to wake up here and make a move one way or another. Gold up 410 at 1336, really not going up or down. But let's get into some earnings plays. And where do you want to start with? Netflix?
Yeah, let's go to the big one, the one that was moving the entire market last night, the one that blows away all the metrics. Spencer, details on NFLX.
Netflix, holy cow! This one never seems a monster. You can't stop it. So the I'll give you the EPS and the revenue. That's almost less important than the actual subscriber number, but I'll give you that. So Q4 GAAP EPS of 41 cents, which was the estimate, and then the sales were for the quarter 3.286 versus $3.28 billion. But that's less important than the subscriber number in which they added, well, where is my number now? There we go. They added 1.98 million users in the US and an additional 6.36 million internationally. And then as far as guidance goes, Q1 EPS guidance 63 cents versus a 56-cent estimate. Sales are 3.68 billion versus 3.49 billion dollars. So good guidance. They see themselves adding 6.35 million new net subscribers in the quarter, and they plan to spend around $8 billion on content just this quarter. So the new subscribers was better than expected. The guidance is better than expected, and they're spending a lot of money, and they're doing really well.
Yeah, 8.33 million versus estimates of 6.34 million. So a lot of ads there blowing away those numbers, and that's why you're seeing Netflix take out. Even it takes out the 230, takes out the 240. Now it's taking out the 250 here, Joel. I mean, it's so hard to give levels when you're at all-time highs. You just got to go to the big hole numbers, don't you?
Right. More importantly, did they say what they were going to do with House of Cards?
We
already know that.
Well, they've already
Didn't
said, yeah, this will be the last season. The upcoming season that I guess will premiere late this year. That's the last season of House of Cards.
Yeah, we did. And they said Kevin Spacey not going to be on it, obviously, so they're writing him off. The way they end, well, we shouldn't talk about it because maybe people haven't watched the series, but the way they kind of ended it was actually good because they kind of had Kevin Spacey taking a back seat, and it just coincidentally, obviously, is going to be out of the series there now. But she's a good actor too. What's her name? The main actor and the actress in the
Robin Wright.
House of Cards.
She was in Princess Bride too,
yes.
right? Yep.
Was she?
She was in Forrest Gump. She was in
Princess Bride.
She was Jenny,
Princess
right?
Bride?
Yes.
She was Jenny.
Anyway, back to the stock.
She was the kid.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just bummed because
no, she was the main girl.
She's the princess, dude.
She was a princess?
Yes.
Holy cow, she looks a lot different now. Wow. Okay.
Well,
Andre the Giant, great movie. Okay, we're not going on the Andre the Giant tangent. So, although I would love to go on the Andre the Giant tangent, we're not going there. Netflix, Joel, level 700,000 shares already traded in the pre-market. $250.62. Thoughts, concerns? What's up?
Nah, no concerns here. Let's just take out that pre-market high of 53.29 and let's just keep on going here. I would use that as a target on the upside. Situations like this, you got to imagine that everyone that paid up for the 225 all the way to 245 calls, not sure what the premiums are. They're in the money. They might want to sell a lot of stock, but I'm sure if you're using that upside target 53.29, that'd be a good exit. Just printed 53.30. So there's a new pre-market high. Looks like someone's targeting the 53.30 area a little bit, 253, 54, 55, 56.
Joel, are you on delayed quotes or something on your thing? 251.20 is where we're at. I'm just trying to make sure. I think Microsoft updates have really slowed your computer down because we're 251.
Well, I just was looking at the high. Oh, the highs.
Oh, you're looking at the highs.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I would blame Microsoft for that quote that they just gave because I haven't seen 253 in a long time. I'll keep you honest over there. We're blaming Microsoft for that. Hey, Texas Linda says, when I make 20 points on my Netflix, I'm taking a day off. Congratulations, Texas Linda, 20 points on Netflix. Nice little trade there for you. Let's move on to the big earnings reports of the day. Verizon, I tell you, somebody wanted this hand over fist last night in the 54 handle. Verizon ahead of the earnings. This is last night. This is how crazy this market gets. 53.46 is the close. This thing traded up to 54.95 on volume last night. On volume ahead of the report. I'm like, who's buying Verizon up $1.50 ahead of the report? I'm like, even if they blow it away, I don't know if it goes up $1.50. So I shorted last night up in the upper 54s. I'm still holding that position here, although I'm thinking about lightening it up here. It's actually, I'm up a point in it already now. But I was confident taking it through the report when they're giving me that much of a head start. So anyways, Verizon, what do you think of Verizon trading $1.50 up ahead of the report, Joel? Is that not a gift?
I think you had to hit every bit in the 54 handle.
It was heavy volume. I'm telling you, there was somebody that just kept coming back. It traded 100,000 shares, I bet you, up there, in the upper 54s. It was crazy. I was like, who's doing this? Do they have the report? Like, is it released? At first I was checking, it was going up so fast. I was like, did they release early? And I'm checking all the news wires. I'm like, no. And they just kept walking it up. And it just sat up there. And the person kept buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. Well, they're not that happy this morning because it is not up $1.50 this morning. It's only up 40 cents. So whoever was buying that last night ahead of the report got a little bit overexcited. And now we're trading at 53.90. So thoughts on Verizon here. I'm going to just tell you in the book, I went to the book here, and not that the book matters because it's already traded 1.1 million shares worth, but it's always nice to look at the big levels. If I'm looking 54, we've got 150,000 and 54, and then up at 55, and that's not coming into play. We'll see that. It's not coming into play.
The other thing that's amazing, Dennis, you probably would have shorted more. Did you see the move that it had on Monday ahead of the report?
Yeah, so it ran up $1.50 yesterday during the day and up another $1.50 ahead of the report. That's how crazy this market is. This is Verizon, guys. This isn't like a new tech stock, new technology. This isn't blockchain. They didn't announce a blockchain announcement yesterday. It goes up $3 ahead of the report, sold to you. So, now I don't know. I'm up almost $1 in the position here, so I'm not sure if I'm going to take it off right now. I'd like it to go scratch, but it would give us a number, Spencer, and then I'll decide if I'm going to take it off.
86 cents versus 88 cents on the Q4 EPS. Sales of 30.
That doesn't sound very good.
Sales of 33.96 versus $33.26 billion dollars. So no,
I might.
I mean, the numbers don't scream off the page, jump off the page.
Is there a good guidance or something?
Not that I'm seeing.
Somebody's just overexcited here. I don't think these numbers are great either, so I'm sticking with it. I'll stick with it and see if it can go to scratch.
The only thing,
go to 53.46.
On the conference call, they said they're starting a blockchain channel.
Oh, yeah, cover.
Yeah.
They actually said that they're considering entering.
We're just going to see blocks stacking.
They actually said they're considering.
They'll be lined up in a chain.
They're considering entering the sports gambling market. That was from Bloomberg yesterday.
We're going to have Dennis keep an eye on the close and the high right next to each other. 53.49 high, 53.46 close. That was also the area of 3 or 4 highs. So there you go. Old resistance, new support. Hadn't quite got there since you hit the upper 54s, Dennis. So let's see if you can get unchanged on it. You got a nice lead on it. I'm sure you'll handle it well. But the close was 53.46. Get a bid out there at 53.50. What's the current bid out there right now?
It's heavy bid. I mean, it is trading big volume. 53.95 bid for 5,000. You can hit 5,000 right now. 53.95. I'm not doing that though. 54.95. Yeah, you got them. 53.95. It's a little, it's this or with the market the way it is, and it's hard to add to when you're up $1 in the thing, and then it goes up to 54, like 40, and I'd scratch the trade. So I don't know if I'm going to add to it here.
Never really gave in after its dividend too. It showed a little weakness,
but it
was very strong after the dividend.
Value names were back in favor there. They came back in favor late November, and they remain in favor. I mean, a lot of the value names have done pretty well, unless you're talking GE, of course. Let's go to Johnson & Johnson, J&J. I'm also short this one from last night ahead of the report. Same reason. It was getting bid up. It got bid up all the way to 150, and I'm like, you know what? I bet there's going to be some size in the book at 150. I don't think it's going over 150 is what I said to myself last night. It did in the pre-market on the initial report, but it's come back in. I can tell you at 150, there's 100,000 shares in the book, not opening over 150. So I'm sticking with it. It's now 149.23. I don't know if this one go to scratch. I can tell you there's 33,000 more in the book at 149 offered. So when that liquidity becomes active, it might not open over 149. That's what I'm hoping anyways, because I'm short Johnson & Johnson.
Were you in it when it went to 51.65?
Yeah, but I was sleeping. What time was that at?
No, you got it. Was at 7:15.
No, I wasn't sleeping, but I wasn't actually paying attention to it. I was too busy working my Verizon position at that time. I mean, it blew. Yeah, but it wasn't that much volume up there.
No, I'm looking.
I would have shorted more. I would have added to it. I forgot I saw that. Okay. I missed that.
All right.
I need like an intern, to alert me of this stuff. Like just say, hey, Johnson 151. Remember? Hey, you're gonna short more at 150. You can get 151 right now. Be like, yeah, baby, let's do it.
You want the intern to like shake you awake at like 5 a.m. Like,
well, that's the problem because sometimes I get up to trade at 4 and then I go back to sleep for a bit, and I got the little cot behind the Benzinga sign here. So
you would have yelled at him and said, 151, cover, get me out, go long.
I'm scared, so scared. I hate taking heat.
What are you
All right,
yelling
move
at?
on.
right.
Give us the numbers, J&J. Did you give us the numbers?
No, $1.74 versus $1.72 in sales, a 20.2 versus 20.07 billion. So they beat
That don't sound that great.
but I mean they beat. They didn't blow it away, but they beat.
And it ran. I don't know. Anyways, not going over 150. That's what I think. It opens below 149. I'm sticking with the short. Even though there's an iceberg order sitting here at 149.20, and there's been buyers all the way down here, probably should cover it, but I'm up like 50 cents or something in there, 60 cents, but I'm going to stick with it.
I mean, you got to go a long way for a gap fill on this one, 148.14. That was a close from yesterday. The all-time high was 148.32. The close from yesterday, 48.14. But we're still a buck away from that. So, Dennis, you might have to get out there at 48.40, 48.50. Adele, Microsoft update here. We are going for another reboot here.
All right. As Joel does that, we're going to go for a break and grab our first guest, Steve Miller from AskSlim.com. We'll be right back with Steve. And welcome back, everyone, to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick. We're on the line now with Steve Miller, AskSlim.com. Steve, how's it going today?
Good. Glad to be here again.
Glad you can make it. You sent over a couple of charts, and I want to get to them. But before we get to those charts, Dennis mentioned you had tweeted a Bitcoin price target.
I did actually, from my year-end show where I do my predictions. Predictions is a crazy thing to do. It's kind of a habit. So I've been doing it for so many years, I decided to do that too. So at the time, Bitcoin was like 17,000 or something like that.
And what was your price target?
My price target was 4,500.
Nice. How did you come up with that price target?
Well, what I did was I thought about other markets that had gone wild, essentially buying panics, huge speculations. Went back to look at comparative things like the peak that was made in the dot-com craze in 2000, and how much the NASDAQ fell after that, and other single stocks. And generally, the losses are between 70 and 85%. After the bubble pops. And I had believed that Bitcoin is a massive bubble, not Bitcoin specifically, but all cryptocurrencies. You know that there are, at this time, 1,384 cryptocurrencies. Yeah. So that's just a monstrous, crazy bubble going on. Now, blockchain I love, and I think it's got a purpose. And if you separate that out and you look at Bitcoin to me, I thought was going to completely give it up. And then there'd be a big reset. And then we'd see what the real valuations were of whichever cryptocurrencies and exchanges survived.
So 4,400 is like that 80% or 75% pullback from the highs.
Yeah, it's about, it fits into there. So that's why I had that target.
Yeah,
I think it's going there.
You know what? I looked at that target. I said it could be conservative. It could be a conservative target. I've not been a fan of crypto. I was wrong all the way up, and I've been right all the way down. So as it kept going up, I remember my brother-in-law coming to me and asking me about Bitcoin, and it was like 2,500, and I was like, you know what? I don't get it. I don't know how to value it. you know, it could go anywhere, but, you know, at the end of the day, I don't see any intrinsic value to it. So he was saying, should I buy some? I kind of told him he shouldn't. And, you know, I feel bad about it because it went to 20,000. I was like, man, I'm really wrong. So I'm still sticking with it. I just don't see the intrinsic value to it that everybody else seems to think. Like everybody says the blockchain, well, you know, and you got first mover advantage. But to be honest with you, everybody's doing blockchain. Everybody's mimicking it. I just don't see the big edge that Bitcoin has over the other 1,384 currencies that you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's true. And a blockchain is going to be adopted across the world. But there are a lot of players in there already. So I think it's going to be a transformative technology, but it's got nothing to do with the fact that the reasons that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies will fail across the board is that the adoptability is just incredibly poor. So there's going to be other things that come on board that supplant fiat currencies, because that's really the big issue. And that's why I have a very bullish bias on real assets, metals and commodities.
So let's jump over to some equities.
Wait, actually, before we do that, Steve sent over a couple of charts, and I want him to explain what's on these charts. So I'm going to bring the first one up, Steve. I'm looking at the momentum outflow of the 10-year U.S. Treasury note. And can you explain to us what exactly is on this chart?
Yes. Okay. So what that is an example of the type of analysis that I do. It's pretty unique. It's called cycle analysis. What I look for is essentially a visual depiction of money flow. As you actually have the bond chart up there right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what you're looking at there is a visual depiction of money flow in the bonds, and you can see those semicircles on the bottom there, which are called cycle brackets. They help me see the cyclical lows. Cycles are marked off there from low to low, and you could see the average distance is about 13 days in there. So what that shows me, and my momentum indicator on there is called the slim ribbon. It's a triple exponential moving average that is aligned on the downside. You could see that in there. So what that shows you is the last 4 months, money has been flowing out of the bond market in a regular stair-step downward motion. So there's been, everybody's asking the question, where's the money coming from to drive the stock market? How could we possibly be moving up at this significant rate that we're moving when you have brokerage accounts at record margin levels, at record low net balances, and you have fund managers with 2.5% of their money in cash? Everything is spent. How can the stock market keep going up? Well, this is the answer, because the Fed essentially caused a huge liquidity trap. Money was stuck in all of the banks. It was stuck in bond markets, and the bond market around the world is twice the size of all the equity markets. So now money is flowing out of bonds, and you can see that here in that stair-step downward fashion into the stock market. Now, if you switch over to the stock market chart, you'll be able to see in there that you have the exact opposite there for the last 4 months, whereas you have the cyclical patterns pointing on the upside. So if you're going to put that other chart up, right?
Yep, doing that right now.
Okay, great. And you'll be able to see the same thing. And you'll note that on the bottom of the bond chart, it shows the disparity index was looking like it was very oversold relative to how much the bond price gets below the 13-day moving average. Now you're going to see the opposite here when you look at the S&P chart, which you have right there, which shows it at an extreme overbought condition on the bottom, which is over 2% above that moving average. Now you'll notice also the uptrend in there for the same period. There you see the cyclical patterns of rises and falls, and each one of those got support on the 13-day moving average, right in the center of the slim ribbon, which is the momentum indicator. Are you following?
Yes, we are following you.
Good. So essentially what you're seeing there on those two charts is massive money flow out of bonds and into stocks, which essentially shows you where the source of funds is coming from. to keep driving the stock market. We're very overbought now on a short-term basis on the stock market, and you're very likely to get a pullback in that rhythmic motion back to that 13-day moving average in the S&P 500 at about 2590. Is that 2790? I'm sorry. So it would be a minor pullback. But until you break that upward pattern, which you see there on the bottom, you see 6 cycles moving up, then we're still going to be in this upward move. Does that explain it for you?
It does explain it for me. Thank you very much.
Good.
Dennis, you had a question about equities. Did you want to hop in there and pick Steve's
Well, I was
brain?
just going to say, I wanted to first get your thoughts on the Netflix report, because obviously that's driving up a lot of FANG this morning. If you look, Facebook's up $1.23, Amazon's trading up, Netflix obviously up $23, the company that reported. Google's trading up significantly, even got a lot of the other techs trading up. Apple's up 78 cents. So we look like we got a tech rally despite the overall market showing a little bit of weakness here this morning. What are your thoughts on Netflix, and what are your thoughts on FANG overall?
First of all, I think that Netflix did an unbelievably great job in avoiding the debacle they had when they made that big rate increase some years ago. They sent out emails to everybody and warned them, so that it kind of softened the blow when the increase came in prices. So I think they did a great job in that, number one. Number two, their sub ads in Europe, other areas of the world, were fantastic. So those are great numbers, but you can only go so far on great numbers before you start to get priced into the area of la la land. And Netflix is just a super overvalued price when you look at even growth versus the PE in there. So I think that at some point here, you're going to get good earnings and the stock's going to fall in the FANG category, and that leadership is going to be gone. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, these stocks moving up on Netflix and then start to stall, especially based on that cycle chart that I just showed you previously. But so I think that these FANG stocks are going to back off today.
Steve, actually, a follow-up question on that from our chat. So where else is there to put money then? Where else would you put your money? If stocks are so overbought, where else? What do you do?
Well, I mean, you do actually have to expect that there will be a setback. I mean, the Fed has not erased the reality of cyclicality in the market, as you may have heard from a lot of sources. So, I mean, you can go back and compare times, and you can see that, the length of time off of this corrective bottom, which came at the very beginning of 2017, is 23 months. So we're, basically at record periods of time off of those significant lows, even surpassing 1987 in duration off of starting its last leg. 1987 was a 58% advance in its final move, and then of course crashed, and now we're at about a 41% advance. 1987 was 13 months. This is 23 months. So we're at a point where you really have to start to expect some very significant corrections. Now, your question is, where would you put money? Well, right now, to me, the strongest and least overbought, believe it or not, is still the financials. So as long as the financials are strong, then I would say that that's probably the best place. One of my top picks for the year is Morgan Stanley, and I think that one is structurally one of the best patterns there are. So I'm still looking at financials to be market leaders above and beyond what we're seeing in the tech stocks.
We've been on the line with Steve Miller. AskSlim.com is his site. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a good day.
All right. Glad to be here. Thanks. Have me again soon.
All righty.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. 8:29 now. I'm trying to get my my charts up on the screen, guys. How are we doing in the S&Ps, Joel?
We're hanging in there. Found a home here at 32.5, 33.5. Currently traded down 33 at 33.5. That's down $1.75. Crude knocking on the door, getting into that 64 handle. Gold still remaining in the green. Let's check good old Netflix here. Netflix 51.20, still up 23.82. I guess if you're trying to hold on to some profits here, I mean, 250, but that's a psychological level. probably not a lot underneath that. So we'll see what happens in Netflix. Looks like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're about to get some imbalances here from Dennis.
Yeah, we're waiting for it. Waiting to see. GE, believe it or not, I was waiting for the big sell imbalance. Not there. 12,000 to buy in GE, so there's nobody early there. Other ones, though, we got some other ones here for you. Alibaba is one. It's got 139,000 to buy. Baba very strong here this morning, already trading up $1.50. Bank of America 210,000 to buy. Keep an eye on that whole number there. BAC. I shorted off it once already yesterday. $31 or $32. Big size up there. So if it opens up anywhere into that area, probably runs into a little bit of resistance. Let's go look here. Square has a small sell imbalance actually. So some of these trends that we were looking at are broken here this morning. Coke 61,000 to sell, ExxonMobil 64,000 to sell, Twitter 36,000 to sell, Goldman Sachs is a big one, 76,000 to sell in Goldman Sachs. That's huge for that stock, and I haven't seen a sell imbalance that big in Goldman Sachs for a long time. So there's a few notable ones here this morning. General Motors looks like it has. I just got to move my screen. I actually got something in front of it. 30,000 to buy. So mix. I'd say the big one's Bob on Goldman Sachs.
Dennis, can we talk about that sell imbalance from GE yesterday? Wasn't it 1.5 mil?
And then it got bigger. It was over 2 million by the time it opened.
Right.
So we're sitting here this morning. There's no buy. There's no sell imbalance really. It just kind of, it's 12,000 to buy. So buyers and sellers at the open are paired off right now, but things are going to change there. So we'll have to keep an eye. That one is going to change very quickly.
Just wanted to talk about, strategy, revolving around that. You had a 1626 close on Monday. You had the huge sell imbalance and Friday trade. Also huge volume on Friday, 214 million. That's one of the biggest days it's had in quite some time. And then, maybe a capitulating bottom there. Maybe they'll just want, I'm selling $1 million. We're getting out of these. We're taking our 12-buck loss here. Opened at 15.90, Dennis. I don't know if you stepped in front of that sell imbalance. It only went down another 10 cents, and that was also the first time in the $15 handle turned around to close. So just one way you could have perhaps hit it in the 16 handle and then provided liquidity being a buyer, or if you thought it was a capitulated bottom there, someone selling over or a group of people selling over 2 million. That opening print, I got 15.90, Dennis, 15.80 low. So wouldn't have been much heat if you were fading that sell imbalance.
I mean, it was a good candle yesterday, really, for you. You can say, it made a new low again, but actually ended up, it closed in the green, I believe, from the day before, did it not?
No, still ended up down 9 cents.
That's a good day for GE. Straighten up here this morning. We'll keep an eye on it. Show a little bit of life to get back up over 16. But I mean, this stock is just, you got to keep watching those traded preferred stocks. And if those things keep going down, it's not good news for GE.
I guess some good news, though, for it. It went down less. I mean, it went down one day, it went down 25. The next day it went down 50.
Down less.
Yeah, one day it went down. It went down 85 cents. The next day it lost about 55 cents. Then it lost another 50 cents. And it only lost 9 cents yesterday. So, man, oh, man.
That's like an up day for GE when it's down 9 cents.
Yeah. Poor Luke got caught up.
I almost feel like just dumping it. I just took that big gain in my BIVV, and I wish it was the end of the year because obviously I had, that stock, and it actually would be bigger than my overall loss in GE. So I don't know. I'm tempted just to take the GE loss. I really am, just because I see the preferreds getting hit now. I'll probably be selling it at the absolute bottom. So when I sell it, that's probably going to be the bottom. But obviously I've been in it for like 17 years. It's just been such a disaster stock, and I just don't know if it's turning it around.
I begged you to sell that for a year at tax loss.
I really was. And then it had the big pop in the first few days. I was like, I'm glad I didn't. And now I have that non-seller's remorse going. So anyways, you always got to have some losers. It keeps it interesting.
All right, so it's 8:34. We have a minute till we can grab Nick, but I want to talk about First Solar real fast because this one,
tariffs. This is a big conversation, though. So maybe we can bring Nick in the middle of this conversation.
I just don't understand. So
tell us the tariffs.
Right. The actual news from yesterday is that the Trump administration, approved tariffs as high as 30% on imported solar panels, which that's what was recommended. The U.S. International Trade Commission recommended tariffs of 35% back in September. September they recommended, it's when they recommended the tariffs. And if you look at First Solar, so this is good news for U.S. solar stocks and bad news for foreign solar stocks because they'll be hit with tariffs. Look at what it's done since the recommendation. So I assumed that the news was already priced in. What do I know? I guess I don't know anything.
I thought it was priced in too, and I actually had one of my friends at Bright Trading. They're just asking me, when that news broke last night, and First Solar was just kind of hanging out there flat, and he's like, "Shouldn't First Solar be rallying on this?" And I said the same thing. I was like, "I don't know. I think it's kind of priced in. I mean, it's had the big move. We knew the tariffs were coming. It was just a matter of when and exactly how much it was going to be." But then First Solar blasted off into orbit and went up to $74. So it's come back down off those highs now. We're only trading up $1.50, but you saw some big moves in a lot of these solar stocks last night, and I would have thought most of it was priced in too. SunPower, SPWR took off. CSIQ took off for a bit too. It's come back down. It's flat. And then the Chinese ones you were mentioning, JASO and JKS, both got hit a little bit on the news. Not that much, but the First Solar was the big mover really off the tariffs. But it wasn't only just the solar tariffs. It was also they were putting tariffs on dishwashers?
Washing machines. So
machines.
WHR. Whirlpool.
I thought that right away. I'm like, Whirlpool, and somebody beat me too because it was already bid 170 last night, and it's trading up $7. So if you wonder why Whirlpool WHR is up $7 here this morning, it's the tariffs on washing machines.
Nick, do you have an opinion on this?
I do. I think we should put tariffs on videotapes. What do you say?
Videotapes.
Yeah, no, this is the same issue that we've had for, I don't know, decades. Do I have an opinion? I think it should be a fair fight. And I'm pretty sure we're not being treated fairly over there, wherever there is. So if we are a little biased towards us, it should be okay. The only problem is that we are giant consumers. So we, as in the US, so people will react violently when we play their game. That's my opinion. So as far as stock price,
talk to us about First Solar.
Well, what you just said is totally reasonable. That did you not see it coming? But it's not. Did we not see it? It seems that Wall Street plays chicken with the headlines. I mean, we all knew the headlines are coming. Many headlines are coming, except for those blind sides. Yet we choose to ignore it until it hits the ticker tape. So if it's not in the ticker tape, nobody's going to trade it. So
I have a different theory here. Yeah. I have the theory that if it's bad news, we choose to ignore it. If it's good news, we rally on every time it's the good news.
Right.
So they mention it. If those tariffs are coming, we'll rally. Those tariffs are coming, we'll rally. The tariffs come, we'll rally.
but that argues against the fact that it's priced in. It's never priced in, whatever it is. So if it's bad, it's not priced in until it hits the ticker tape. If it's good, it's not all priced in. We have priced some in. In other words, we had the party. Like, you remember the Greek headline? You remember the gas cuts, the oil production headlines? We celebrated those 10 times. And then we celebrated one more time on the actual headline itself. So the rumor comes out that they're going to do price cuts or production cuts. Hey, market rallies. Next week, somebody confirms the rumor, the market rallies. Somebody says, oh, no, the rumor is gone. We don't rally. Then said, no, it's really here. Then we rally again, 10 times. And then finally, they did it a year later, a year and a half later or something. And then we rallied again. Same with the Greek deal. We have a deal. No, we don't. We have a deal. We celebrate several times. And then, so it's never priced in. So whatever it is going to hit the ticker tape and the news flow and the meme and the chatter. And we're going to trade off it.
Jump over. We'll move away from the tariffs for a second. Let's jump over. I got to get your thoughts on the Netflix report too. I know you're watching this, and it's trading up here substantially in the pre-market. What were the options saying going into the report, and what are they saying now? Well, actually, you haven't had.
I don't know what they're saying now, but
don't open.
Yeah, into the report, they don't tell you which way it's going to move. They just price in a move.
How much was the move priced for?
I'm going from memory. I think it was $17. I don't know.
More.
Yeah. So if I were to play I'm going from memory. I could be wrong. If I wanted to play a lottery ticket on it, I would not have taken the lottery ticket further away from that. If that's what the markets are saying, that's going to be the move. So that's likely the maximum move. In this case, they over delivered in their reports. And if you've been trying to short Netflix, I'm bearish Netflix fundamentals. I'm not bearish the stock itself, because the thesis, like Tesla.
Talk about that. Well, how can you be bearish the fundamentals and not be bearish the stock itself? Tell us about this.
Okay. So the only thing that the stock market cares about right now for Netflix is global expansion at the same rate or same matter it did in the US, meaning how many new subscribers can they fill out and sign up. And they've over delivered on that by a long shot. And now I think their dollar is almost equal here to there, here and overseas. So they are accomplishing what Wall Street expects. And that's why I'm not bearish the stock itself. The fundamentals, the costs are insane. What is the number? $4 billion a quarter on content? What? I mean, that is
it's $8 billion. $8 billion this quarter.
$8 billion? Okay, there you go. $8 billion a quarter on content, whatever that number, it's ginormous.
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around it. What costs that much to produce? I don't have Netflix. I mean, this
shows are expensive.
They're good at burning cash.
Nick, the shows are expensive. You know.
What? I mean, how much did it cost to do E.T. or the Star Wars? Did it cost that much? I mean, these are
no, but
that's a big number.
That was.
You're right.
Star Wars was one film is 2 hours. They're doing each of these original shows is like 10, 20 hours of programming right there. That's
I can't wrap my head around it. That's me. I'm not a film producer. I just can't wrap my head around it. I mean, how much are they paying these people? What is costing that much? I just can't wrap my head around it. Anyway, the costs are insane. I don't think they can maintain this for long. Plus, they have I'm talking other people's arguments because I'm not an expert in the field, that they have off-balance sheet commitment, meaning commitments to produce movies. And I think we saw a line item yesterday. They mentioned that they had costs associated with a production that didn't happen. So how much of that is there? Because that is not on the balance sheet. So fundamentally, it's questionable. But the stock market is looking for one thing. It's a growth company. You don't judge it on profitability now. You want to see it sustain. Like same Amazon, when it was growing, spending everything, people challenged their profitability, and therefore that was the thesis to short it. But it was wrong because they had profitability. They just chose to spend every nickel into growth. In this case, they are doing the same thing. Can they make the turn? So that's the bearish part that I have about it. Right now, I don't like the structure, but I don't short it based on that. Having said that, if the market's correct, all the momos like this one will run downhill very fast. So be cautious how you trade it.
Jump over to Alibaba here, and it's trading up again this morning. I know this is one you follow as well. That's why I'm going to it. 152,000 shares to buy. It's trading up $1.50 in the pre-market, piggybacking off of Netflix. This stock, and if you look at all the other ones, have been in rally mode all year. Alibaba really has not been in rally mode all year. What are your thoughts here, as it's kind of just been consolidating here for the better part? If we go to the chart, you got to go out a while here. We've been better part of 3-4 months. We've just been hanging out in the 180s.
We traded it successfully. I treat it like a well-founded tech company. So like Apple, when it falls, I go long it. I would go long it here, but cautiously. And you know how I trade credit put spreads, or selling risk where risk shouldn't go, but exists. So if somebody's fearing a scenario, I'll do the research. And if that scenario is unlikely, or if it happens, I'm okay with it, then I will sell risk there, try to generate some income. So we traded it into those boxes I just put in, and it over delivered. In other words, exceeded my expectations. So now I can reload long, having had profits in pocket. So if I'm long it, I'm not too worried as long as markets don't correct. They do have earnings probably. I don't know when they report, but this is earnings season, and they tend to, these guys, the whole basket, they tend to trade in unison. So into earnings, it's an iffy situation because it's always a binary event. You and I know this. We've talked about this 1,000 times. So I don't know how they're going to react for the short term, meaning even if they deliver on the expectations, even if they deliver a great quarter, I don't know what the market expects. So therefore, I don't know how they're going to react. So cautious into the earnings, but if it does fall, I'll go long.
Baba is next Thursday before the bell, just so you know.
I think next week is a hideously heavy week with regards to mega caps. So there are days where you're going to have Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, but I think 2 and 2. I don't know where they fall. So be careful how you trade. So play them against each other. So yesterday I told last Friday, I said, if we wanted to play the Netflix earnings, buy either the Qs or Google and Facebook, because they're part of FANG and they're going to rally with it. But the risk is not as great. So if I bet calls on Netflix and Netflix disappointed and it fell, my calls die right away. But if I bet my calls on Facebook or Google, which will move up with Netflix if I guess correctly, these calls won't die because their event still is outstanding. So do the same logic with those that are going to report down the line. So if Google reports first, I would play it via Facebook or the Qs. Because if FANG rallies, that's almost half of the Qs. If you add Microsoft, it's probably half and then some. So that's how I would play it, via something else.
We're on the line with Nick Chahine. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Nick, coming out of the chat from Rob Wood, he wants you to take a look at BMRN, Biomarin.
Boy, the IBB, the biotech, they were in tech trouble yesterday, or not yesterday, coming into yesterday, and bam, it's just buyouts and mergers and acquisitions, all of that is a buzz there. Money is cheap. That's going to continue. BioMarin, what's it doing this morning? Am I walking into a trap there?
No, it's only down 3 cents. So no.
Okay.
No news.
No news. Okay, so the range is tight. It has been higher lows, lower highs, coming into some sort of a point. If there's an earnings event coming, then I would definitely play off of that to see what's going to happen there. But it is technically poised to make a move, the direction of which I don't know, not clear. But when it's setting higher lows, it's usually favors the bulls. So if it goes higher than, say, 92.8, but that's a moving target, it's a trend line of lower highs, then it might overshoot higher towards 94 or 96.
And Nick, just overall, S&Ps here in the red a little bit this morning by $2. I guess the Alaska earthquake kind of shook things up a little bit. Any projections, any targets on the upside here for this market? Or are you just trying to find out where the support is and not selling it, and selling the support, selling the credit?
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I did. For the short term, I'm playing the ranges, and obviously the bullish side is easier than the bearish, but I can't be all bullish at all times and all bearish at all times. So if I had shorts, I have to be careful to put them far enough in time. So somebody made a comment in the chat room yesterday saying that, I saw resistance at some point. I was like, how could you set resistance? We're at all-time highs. So upside targets. Remember last week you and I spoke, and I said 2808 in the ES is a catalyst-ish, 2808, 2809 to 30 or 50. So we were 40 some overnight. So it's there as far as my expectation. But 50 is still an outstanding target that I had set. However, we are due for a check back. Technically, the market is set up wrong at this altitude. That doesn't mean we're going to crash. It just means that we might need a little check back before we can get a lot higher from here. So loading up long here for the long term is probably an iffy proposition, but playing the short term, if I'm an active trader, I can do this. I published Iron Condors on Thursday, and I said I'm not doing any credit call spreads. That was last Thursday, meaning I am not doing any short positions for the short term. So my positions were all long, and I booked a lot of them yesterday. So from here, I can reevaluate if I wanted to go long from here. If I do, I'll do it cautiously via debit call spread in the money, and not this week, not next week, 2 weeks out or longer, because it's going to cost the same. So why not give myself a little more time?
We've been on the line with Nick Chahine. He's the author of Create Income with Option Spreads. Nick joins us every Tuesday to share his technical and fundamental outlook on the market. Nick, we might have to get you another computer and get you on the video next week.
It's not a matter of computers. I just don't want to commit to looking good at 4 o'clock in the morning my time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right.
Why use a hat?
Hair is not the problem.
Thanks, Nick.
All
right, Dennis, we got to check in with you. We're a little concerned here. Verizon.
No, I am. I'm concerned too. I covered part of the position. I guess I should have covered the whole thing. So, regretting not covering it's right back up there. I just added to it in the 54.90s. Doing a little bit of trading there. I think it doesn't open over 55. That's what I said before. But, somebody is bullying this thing up because you can see it's iceberg buyers. There's some institution that just wants in. They wanted in last night. They want in here again this morning. Maybe they were mad. They bought all that stock last night and it was down. I almost think it's the same institution pushing it up again just because I'm watching the order flow and the way it's working. It's like they're just, buying. It's iceberg that keeps coming up. Like they'll bid for a few hundred shares and the bid doesn't move. So somebody just wants millions of shares, it seems like, of Verizon here this morning. Maybe they're going to push that into the regular session. Maybe not. I'm, banking and betting that it's not going to open over 55. I could be wrong. I was definitely wrong when I was saying I thought it might give it back from 54, and it hasn't. Stuck with the Johnson & Johnson, J&J. That one has moved back down and given most of it back here. So I'm glad I stuck with that one. Not glad that I stuck with the Verizon.
All right, I want to get on a surprise guest this morning. Jason Raznick is the CEO of Benzinga.
Nice.
I think he's short Verizon.
Hi, this is Jason. Feel free to
Jason,
or text me.
No, he told us to call him and he didn't answer. Oh well, boy, I think he's fired. Yeah, Jason's fired. All right, I think
throw one of the Benzinga balls at the glass there. Or he's not in the office.
He's not in. I think he wanted to short Verizon. I don't know why, but I wish. You know what? I'll try one more.
He said call back.
Verizon?
He said
call back. What Jason says.
He said call back. All right, we're calling it back right now. Let's figure out what exactly why he's so. Hey, Jason, you're on live on PreMarket Prep. You're so fired up this morning that you had us call you. Why are you so fired up about Verizon?
Oh, it's just like it's a short. It's a short, and it's
that's what I was saying.
Long-term secular short. No one realizes. When I find edges in the market, it's when the people don't talk about it ahead of time. So, Apple, when you get an iPhone these days, most people back to 2 years ago always got a Verizon contract. Now that's almost a rarity. You basically get a contract with Apple. They're losing a lot of that 2-year revenue that they were getting. My Verizon bill is so cheap compared to what I pay Apple. It's one indicator. Verizon is such a big company. Sometimes it doesn't affect it, but it's going to be a headwind that they're going to have. Verizon's going to have for a while. So I'm a short Verizon. I mean, obviously I'm an uber long Tesla, but I'm a short Verizon.
Well, first of all, I just want to preface this for our viewers that I don't know when's the last time we heard a short recommendation out of Jason. He is.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. He's been very, very.
Yeah, we don't give recommendations.
We don't give recommendations.
Opinion, but
a short opinion.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? I mean, it's traded up $1.77 here, 55.23. Are you gonna just let it fester for a couple days here? Are you gonna go after, some puts? What are you going to do?
Joel, I may have to wait another quarter because I'm telling you, these numbers from their Apple sales aren't as strong as they used to be, and it doesn't look like it's accounted for in the numbers. I was really early on my mortgage short way back when. I was 2 quarters too early. I don't know when those negative numbers will hit, but they will hit. It's like I've told you guys on Tesla or HubSpot, those things will hit but I just don't know when. It is such a big company. That's the fear. I hate when all these companies get, cobbled up together because then it's harder to make those micro calls. But I'm telling you, there's something in their wireless that's going to take a hit. I thought it would be this quarter, but, go ahead. Sorry, Dennis.
I'm on the same side with you. I think it's a crazy move up this morning, but they keep pumping it up here, and there's some buyer in there that just is buying the hell out of it here this morning off. I didn't think it was a great report either, but so I'm on your side. I am actually short Verizon. So I was ahead of your call there, Jason. It's not working.
I know. I heard you. So do they increase their dividend? It's the only thing I could think that would pump the stock up.
No, they're just saying something gets hot. This market's just trendy. It gets hot, it stays hot for a while. And, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason behind it. But right now, Verizon is hot. And, eventually, maybe, you're calling where it's going to turn. And I hope you're right. I hope you're right today. But as of right now,
I don't know if I'm right today. It could be early.
That's the problem. You're long term. I'm short term. Short term, I'm in trouble.
Jason, can we just get
stocks I do love?
Yeah, I was just going to say, could you give us a Tesla target update?
Yeah, I can do two of those, Joel. Tesla, my price target update still hasn't changed from when it was at 170. My price target is still $1,000. They're asking me on the news desk to write my reason and why it's going to go to $1,000. And if I get around to it this weekend, I will. And then Elon Musk comes out this morning with basically zero salary, and he doesn't really get his options. It's not a time duration like most executives, but Tesla does things differently. Elon Musk does not make money unless Tesla reaches $650 billion in valuation, one of the most, highest market cap companies. That is saying something. Don't get me wrong. He does make money, but for his options that they are giving, this new thing, it has become $650 billion. Hey, I'm in it with Elon Musk. If I'm wrong, then I'll take it to my grave. The other one that I've been a fan of for a while is this company called HubSpot, Joel. HUBS. I don't know the phonetics, but HubSpot is like an online marketing software. And I bought it in the 60s because the catalyst is they give a CRM away, the CRM is like a contact relation management system, something that can teach a sales force, but they give it away for free to startups. They're building in a lot of companies using it. And I think eventually if you give Salesforce a run for its money, that's eventually. And Salesforce is just, worth so much money that at the worst case, HubSpot gets taken out for 150. It has risen fast the past couple of weeks. So be careful, but I do like that company.
All right. We've been on the line with Jason Raznick. He is the owner and founder of Benzinga. Thanks a lot, Jason. We'll see you in the office here in a little bit.
Love the show. Great show today, guys. And Verizon, be careful.
I'm getting murdered. It's not a show unless I get murdered live on the show for you.
You'll wiggle your way out of it. You'll be fine.
We'll work it. So I'm glad I covered part of the position. I shouldn't have added a
Twitter 15-minute chart. Noto's out at Twitter, Dennis. Anthony Noto is stepping down at Twitter. You saw the news.
Wow, Twitter's down big right now. When did that break? Just now?
Yeah, just now. Luke just broke it here on the wires. I mean, this thing had been looking droopy. I've been talking about this with John Smith. It had a lot of support at 2350 and had the close at that area. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to Sean about this one and see what he thinks. I mean, they have been producing some good, some halfway decent numbers as of late. I don't know how much the former Goldman Sachs executive has played a role in that. We just hit 22 even here, and you had a low at 22.19 on December 15th. That also fills a gap from the earnings. So I don't know. We'll see what happens at 22. You did have a gap between 23.13 and 22.86. That's been fulfilled. Pre-market low right now, 22, and you got a nice bounce off that, 50, 60 cents higher off that low. So
there's underneath demand in the stock. Year you get a sell-off and somebody stepping down, you get the sell-off, but there's just underneath demand. And I think that 22 low might hold here. This is one that I wouldn't be surprised if, they do actually buy back up. Maybe it retests it, give you a second shot down there, but you have a mark now, that 22 pre-market low. Important, obviously, for Twitter to hold, but I think there's underneath demand in this. I think the sentiment towards the stock has definitely turned. So, and I think on pullbacks, there's buyers below. So it's giving you a pullback here this morning. I personally am a buyer of Twitter on a pullback.
All right, 858. Did we even touch on any ratings today?
No, but we also didn't touch on the small cap biotech stocks that we discussed yesterday, and I know Dennis had a few he wanted to mention.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of movers. So we gave you some on the show, and I actually got a couple. And one that I got right off the bat was BPMC. It opened flat, and this was one I believe I mentioned on the show as well in the pre-market. We gave you a little list of smaller biotech stocks that could be moving, and it was a huge day. We just briefly mentioned that with Nick. BPMC opened flat. I think I got like 77.5. Within 20 minutes, it was 80. Me, scalper blood and me, I sold it around 80 and was happy to get the gain. Continued to rally through the rest of the day, that went all the way up to 84. But Bluebird Bio was another one. I just missed that by like 20 cents on the pullback. It opened like 184 and tanked right under 180 quickly. I didn't get it. And then it obviously blasted off to $200. So our chat was buzzing about that one too. Our chat's always really good. If you're not in the chat, you should be, because there's a lot of great traders in the chat giving great ideas all day. Bluebird Bio, BLUE, was another one that was moving yesterday. Clovis Oncology, CLVS, was moving. We even had Sarepta moving higher, which we mentioned on the show as well yesterday. SRPT. There was NTLA, another one that was moving. Intellia Therapeutics. All these smaller biotechs with growth, those were the ones that were moving yesterday.
All right, 8:59, 35 seconds. S&Ps hanging out here in the 28.32 handle. Not much movement during the show, kind of rare. I will keep an eye on that all-time closing high of 35.25. They had the high from yesterday, right? Well, just above that at 38.25. So keep an eye on those two levels. Pre-market high, 42 even. Another area on the downside. Like I said, we are not going to see much on the downside unless we can take out that pre-market low of 28.75. And in all honesty, there's nothing down to the all-time high at 28.15. But another weakness in the market. We'll see if it's scooped up off the open. All right, Spencer, what's on the docket for Wednesday?
On the docket for tomorrow's show, we are joined by Greg Harmon from Dragonfly Capital Management. He will join us at 8:35. But if you want to catch any part of today's show, you can do so on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, which is where a podcast goes, or you can rewatch the show, youtube.com/BenzingaTV, where you can see all the charts. You can see Dennis's beautiful mug and all that jazz. And my mug is there a little bit. Anyway, that's our show for the day, folks. Hope you all had a good morning and have a good rest of your day. We'll be back with you on Wednesday.